On this, Chad Dion Lassiter is my guest, national expert on race relations, joining us today from Philadelphia. Chad, always good to have you with us. Your read on what we're seeing playing out in Kenosha.
Well, good to see you as well, Todd. Another tragic and unfortunate shooting that the police officers actually escalated the context. It was reported that Jacob Blake actually was mediating a conflict that was along the lines of domestic violence. And several people in that catchment area around that vehicle, where his three sons were in the vehicle, informed the police officers that he wasn't the one that was engaged in the aggressive behavior. He actually was the person that was trying to break up the fight. This is, once again, another example of why Black Lives Matter. This, once again, is another example of why we have to call out institutional racism and white supremacist behavior.
You think about being shot 7 times, Chad. What does that say to you?
Just traumatizing in the sense that he was walking away. He was not engaged in an angry or aggressive fashion, and to be shot 7 times in his back, it lets me know that it's beyond just training at this point in time, Todd. We saw the same thing. We analyzed the same thing. We provided critical analysis with the same exact thing with regards to George Floyd. These are white police officers who, for the most part, are engaging in more than just surveillance and suspicion of Black bodies, but in fact, they may in fact want to kill the Black body that exists.
And also, you're thinking about, the city where there has now been fires, there's some violence, the National Guard has been called in, a small detachment, but nevertheless, to help out local police, and what you think may happen now in the days to come, Chad?
Well, I think the people should do the same thing that Frederick Douglass called individuals to do during his time, which was agitate, agitate, and agitate. I think the burning of property, I think it's a part of the outgrowth and the outburst of the frustration that people see. When people actually say, hey, the police are killing us, and they do civil disobedience protests, the police don't hear them. Once again, I'm not advocating for this, but I think the people have to keep the pressure on the police. The people need to keep the pressure in the community. And we also need to do more than just lift up Jacob Blake and his family and his sons who are traumatized in prayer. We need to denounce all forms of white supremacy, and these police officers need to be brought to justice.
Yeah, and what about the location here? I mean, we had the situation with George Floyd in Minnesota. Now we have a situation in Wisconsin, these sort of Midwest states where we have not necessarily seen these sort of flashpoints in the past, or certainly not as we've seen in other places in your country.
Or the flashpoints are actually there, Todd, and now they're being recorded via cell phones and things of that nature. Wherever the Black body is in position, it's always seen historically and contemporary as a threat. And so whether it's Utah, whether it's Montana, whether it's Philadelphia, whether it's Camden, these things occur. And so we really have to have a conversation about how we need to undo these practices of escalating situations, and the escalation comes on behalf of these police officers.
And obviously, we are in the middle of a presidential campaign, and I just wonder what you make of that tying into this. And I'm not trying to couple the two, but, people are seeing these images playing out on their TV screens across your country at the same time as the Republicans are holding their national convention, Chad.
Yeah, and I know that you weren't trying to couple them, Todd, but once again, I think the historic aspect of this is the oppression of marginalizing African Americans throughout the history of our democracy. And then when you throw this into the backdrop of the RNC convention, I think one of the things that we have to point to is that this is a president that was overreaching and sent the National Guard and others into Portland. And so this is playing out. And so law enforcement, they're hiding on one side, and the community is just simply saying, don't shoot unarmed Black people, don't shoot unarmed brown people, give people the benefit of the doubt, don't rush to judgment, don't come to the scene like you did with George Floyd. 15 seconds into it, you're raising a gun. In this situation, the man was walking away. They could have tackled him, they could have tased him, didn't have to shoot him, and let alone shoot him 7 times.
Yeah, powerful message, spot on. Thanks so much for this, Chad. Always good to talk to you.
Good to see you, Todd. Thank you.
Chad Dion Lassiter.